Next to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, the #1 visited national park in the United States, you'd find a city called Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. There they have a Titanic Museum, which is where we are going into for this video. I'm going to let you listen into a man named Lowell Lytle, who used to visit this museum, who would often portray the captain of the Titanic, as he himself was the 109th person to visit the Titanic on the ocean floor. I'll let you listen into his experience.
So you've been down to see the Titanic wreckage. Can you tell us all about that?
Well, it's hard to tell all about, though I had plenty of time. I was down there for 7 hours.
Wow.
It takes 2.5 hours to get down 2.5 miles to the wreck site.
Wow.
They turned off all the lights to conserve the batteries. Now I'm alone with my own thoughts in total darkness. When we arrived, they turned on the lights, and moments later, I was right over the bow.
Wow.
The same spot where Jack in the movie held out his arms and said, "I'm the king of the world." I went right over that site.
Wow.
I said, "Take me to the captain's cabin." I heard the side was already gone. They took me there. I was 5 feet from the captain's bathtub for 10 minutes while they were changing film.
Wow.
My job was to pick up artifacts.
Okay.
I found a wrench down there. The mouth on it was this big, sticking straight up in the ocean floor like somebody thrown a javelin. Found many items of value. We brought them all back, and I stayed focused on picking up artifacts, not emotionally get involved, but after an hour and a half, you see all the debris scattered on the ocean floor. You see a shoe over here and a hat over there, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. All I could think of was what took place that April night. 1,500 souls slipped into eternity that quick.
Wow.
All of them had plans to get to New York, start a new life. It never happened. Life can be short.
Yes.
Make sure you tell your loved ones every day how much you love them. Now, before I went down to my dive, they said, if you can find a first-class window down there, pick it up. We don't have one. We don't want any more portholes. We got enough of those. And I found one.
Fantastic.
We brought it up, and they took it out of the basket, and when they did, it bumped the basket. And little pieces of rust from the metal frame of the window fell into the basket. And I said to the crew, "Excuse me, what do you do with all that stuff in the basket there?" "Oh, we dump it overboard." I said, "No, don't do that. That's part of the Titanic." I reached in and I picked up a whole bunch of those pieces, and I put them in plastic so they don't get destroyed, and I gave them to friends of mine. Unfortunately, this is the last piece I got.
Wow.
Now, I put it in plastic. You might look at it and say, it looks like a little piece of rust. And you'll be right, that's what it is, a piece of rust. But it's more than that.
Yes.
This is a piece of the real ship.
That's amazing.
Titanic. Come over here, lad. So stand right here. Turn around and get a picture of this. Hold your hand out.
You're holding
Now,
a piece of the
look
Titanic,
right into that
my
lens
gosh.
and smile big. Let them see your teeth. You are now holding a piece of the real Titanic in your hand at this moment. Do you realize how rare that is? How few people have ever done that or ever will? That's worth thousands of dollars to a collector.
Wow.
I wouldn't sell it. It's illegal.
That's amazing.
I'm not giving it to you either. Just letting you hold it for a little bit. Now you're going to go to school and tell your classmates you held a piece of the Titanic, and they're going to say, "No, you never did. Here's my telephone number. You have to call me and I'll verify you actually did."
As we went up the grand staircase at this Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge, we went on to see Mr. Lowell Lytle again, and he shared an amazing story of Reverend John Harper. I'll let you listen in.
I've been down to the Titanic, by the way. Very few people have ever done that. fewer than 200. I was the 109th person chosen to go down. I've written a book about my dive. It's here in the gift shop. If you want to know how and why they chose me to go down, it's all in this book. Now, throughout your voyage today, you've heard various passengers and crew stories. Well, I want to end your voyage today with a Christian story from one of the clergymen aboard the ship. His name was Reverend John Harper. He was a Baptist minister from Glasgow, Scotland, on his way to Chicago to preach at Moody Church. When the Titanic started to go down, Reverend Harper ran around the deck shouting, "Women and children and unsaved people, get aboard the lifeboats." Can you imagine that? This is a Baptist minister still preaching while the ship is going down. He even took off his life vest and gave it to a man that was not a Christian. Thought that'll give him time to get his soul ready for eternity. My, what a sacrifice. He knew he was going to die. His daughter Anna was standing right next to him, and his sister-in-law. The sister-in-law overheard the Reverend when he gave that life vest to that man. He said, "Here, take this. I don't need it. I'm not going down. I'm going up." Wow, testimony of faith. Unbelievable. He's in the water now, 28 degrees. Will you put your hand in that water? Can you imagine your entire body in that? Feels like 1,000 knives stabbing him. And a man drifted by on a piece of wood. Reverend Harper shouted to the man, "Are you saved?" The man said no. Reverend Harper shouted, "Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved." The man drifted off into the dark, and later the current drew him back. And Reverend Harper again shouted to the man, "Are you saved yet?" And the man said, "I can't honestly say that I am." Reverend Harper's last words were, "Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved." And with that, the Reverend slipped under the water and went to that frozen, watery grave. There were 12 people pulled from the water that night. 6 of them lived. That man was one of them. And that story was told a few weeks later in Hamilton, Ontario, by that same man who said, "I listened to Reverend Harper's last message and became a believer in Jesus Christ with 2 miles of water beneath me." That's a true story. And that's in this book right here, Diving into the Deep. This is the book about my dive. In fact, it's about my entire life, but I know you'll enjoy it in the gift shop. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Captain.
We hope you enjoyed hearing from Mr. Lowell Lytle about his experience going down to the Titanic and sharing the amazing story of Reverend John Harper. There are many more passenger stories you can learn about at this Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Check out the link in the description of this video where we give you a full tour of this place and tell you how to get tickets at the best price.